Hello everyone, welcome to our session on play, projects, and problems. My name is Dr. Brian Stone from Northern Arizona University.
And I'm Dr. Sandra Stone from Northern Arizona University.
So this workshop will focus on the attributes of play as the basis for play and science and social studies play-based projects and problems, with an emphasis on changing our current school culture, which limits or eliminates play in an effort to meet accountability requirements through standards and testing. We will discuss play, projects, and problem-solving environments in primary and elementary schools based on play attributes. We hope everyone will gain a unique perspective of play's role in learning with a new school culture that values play and its contribution to protecting the role of choice and autonomy for children in the learning context, giving them the freedom to play, imagine, and create. So, first we want to look at the school culture and how it eliminates or even limits play. It diminishes whole child growth, it eliminates the benefits of play for children's well-being, and it can create a toxic environment. School culture gives preference to controlling children's learning experience through worksheets, rubrics, adult-directed academics, and test preparation in order to meet curriculum and testing mandates. Here's a quote from Peter Gray that we like: "School has taken over children's lives in even more insidious ways. The school system has directly and indirectly, often unintentionally, fostered an attitude in society that children learn and progress primarily by doing tasks that are directed and evaluated by adults, and that children's own activities are wasted time. This creates an unhappy place for children." School culture frustrates or deadens a child's own thinking by forcing him or her to conform to an adult-dictated routine. Children's true learning and thinking can be suffocated by a benevolent captivity, and that's a quote from Rogers. So, the exile of play is one of the great tragedies of standardized education, and that's from Ken Robinson. Decline in children's physical and mental health is evident. As children's freedom to play has declined, there has been an increase in children's anxieties and also in mental health disorders, and that's also from Peter Gray. We've seen a decline in creativity. Here's a quote from Albert Einstein that we really like. "It is nothing short of a miracle that the modern methods of instruction have not yet entirely strangled the holy curiosity of inquiry. It is a very grave mistake to think that the enjoyment of seeing and searching can be promoted by means of coercion and a sense of duty." We all know play is essential to children's well-being. We cannot continue to rob our children of play. It's a valuable resource for learning. Play provides intrinsic, personal, intellectual curiosity or interest, which is inherent motivation and the best stimulus for learning. Here's another quote from Ken Robinson: "A lifelong sense of curiosity is one of the greatest gifts that schools can give their students." So the play attributes that we'll be embedding into play, projects, and problems. Play is choice-driven, it's intrinsically motivated, it's not goal-oriented, it's non-literal, and it's enjoyable. Play's role in learning within a new school culture that values play and its contribution to protecting the role of choice and autonomy for children in learning contexts gives children the freedom to play, imagine, invent, and create.
So we're going to take three examples here to illustrate how children are engaged in play, but also the play becomes projects or problems to solve. And so we're looking, the first one I'm going to describe is a little girl. I was watching her play. She went to the center. She was probably about 5 years old, and got the art materials out and made this, with different colors of tissue paper, this beautiful wings for a butterfly. And then she stuck them on her back and then went into dramatic play, and then you could watch her flying all through the classroom as a butterfly. And then another person that I was watching was building with blocks, and she got this whole tower. She was gluing all the blocks together, but then a problem happened. As she put the blocks together, the glue wasn't drying fast enough, so it was just sliding back and forth. So she saw the tape, reached over, grabbed the tape as best she could, held the blocks, and then wrapped it all around, solving a problem, problem-based learning. And another example, again, these are more primary children. I was watching in my own classroom of mixed ages, 5, 6, and 7-year-olds. We had lots of blocks, wooden blocks, and they created this magnificent castle and then made a wall to go all the way around the castle, which was probably half of the classroom. But they were involved in a project of creating this castle. So when we're talking, Brian and I are talking about the environments, we want to change schools, to change the environments. We're not preparing them to be test takers. We're preparing them for a life of joy and a life of curiosity. We want those environments to reflect this. So we're looking at environments, and you'll see in our packet, we've put in 2 environments from New Zealand. One is of a primary environment, and you'll see lots of space for play, for projects, for problems, where children are engaged socially and are very busy with the work of following their curiosities and their interests. And so you'll see this at both primary and intermediate levels.
So projects are child-driven. They're child-directed science and social studies content. They are not teacher-directed. The ownership of a project belongs to the child, not to the teacher. Projects also allow for an in-depth study of a topic or a theme, and it's for applying skills, not necessarily acquiring them. This gives children the freedom to imagine, invent, and create. So just as in play, projects are choice-driven. The child chooses the project. It's intrinsically motivated. The child is passionate about the project. It's not goal-oriented. The child plays with ideas and materials. There is no designated outcome, no rubric, no grades. It's non-literal. The child is free to transform reality into fantasy, and it's enjoyable. The child finds enjoyment in following his or her own interests, using their imagination and their creativity. The child chooses the project topic. They do their own source material or find their own source material. They do their own research. They choose the way they want to present the topic. The project may last from just a couple of days to several weeks or more. And the teacher in this process is a facilitator and guide, not an instructor. Children make their own choices about what to do, when to do it, where to do it, and with whom to create the project with. They have autonomy, the opportunity for children to view learning as something under their control, and that's a quote from Alfie Kohn. Here's another one from Kohn. Without choice and autonomy, we deprive children of motivation. So children are choosing their own goals. Here's a quote from Daniel Pink, who we really like. The opposite of autonomy is control, and control leads to compliance, whereas autonomy leads to engagement. So these projects are choice-driven. They're autonomous. Children develop intellectually and morally. This liberates one's inner drive to lead people to live richer lives. And that's another quote from Daniel Pink. So the process of undertaking a project. Children are brainstorming ideas. Children choose their topic of choice. The teacher meets with an individual or with a small group, and they get to choose if they're working together or socially. The teacher can help guide the KWHL chart to find out what the children know, what they want to know, what they want to find out about their project, how they'll learn information. So children do their own research and fieldwork. They meet with the teacher to decide on the form of their project, and children will develop it. And then they present or share this with others.
So we wanted to give you a couple of examples. This is primary age, and the children were studying geology and dinosaurs and prehistoric, and so they decided, we'd like to build a volcano. Now, this wasn't the whole class. There were just 4 children who decided they wanted to do this. They were following their passions. This was so exciting to them. So they got their own materials, built their volcano. And then from there, they decided, this would be really cool if we had a playland. So they put their volcano on a big table in the classroom and then brought in their dinosaurs from home and created this whole dinosaur land around their volcano, which became an active play center for the rest of the children in the classroom. Another project, I was working with some children in Japan, and had several groups of children that they wanted to study trees. They were so engaged and interested in these trees, so they figured out different trees that were in the nearby park that was near their school, and they categorized the trees. Then they made it into this big poster, and developed a quiz for the children to play this out as a game. And then another school I was working with, they had, the kids were studying Egypt. These were upper ages, 8 to 11. And these children, as they studied Egypt, decided, you know what, not all the children, they all had different ideas, but this one group of children decided to make a pyramid out of cardboard boxes, and it was huge. It was a great big pyramid. And then they decorated it with designs and artifacts from the Egyptian age. And another group of children, in another school in the Netherlands Antilles, they were studying animals, and 4 of those children decided they wanted to make a play. So they created a box and put the animals in it. They had little puppets, and they developed this whole animal habitat. Again, it was their invention, their creation.
So I just wanted to provide some examples from my own classroom as well. I taught 4th, 5th, and 6th grade multi-age, and these are just some of the unique examples of projects that I found in my classroom. So I had a student who wrote a diary of a red blood cell in the first person, and it was just highly creative. She was the red blood cell. She wrote of her existence in the body and her lifespan and where she originated and how she eventually died. So just very interesting and creative. And then I had a group of girls who were really good friends, best friends, and they wanted to create a project on the Galapagos Islands. And so what they did is they created scaled versions of the Galapagos Islands. They cut them out of butcher paper. They made them large scale. We moved all of the tables and chairs out of the room, and they put these on the floor in the correct orientation of the Galapagos. Then they hand drew the wildlife that were unique to each of the islands, and they created these makeshift boats out of hula hoops, dressed up as tour guides, and they took the rest of my class on a tour of the Galapagos Islands. And just, again, very highly creative. This is not something that I told them to do. There was no rubric. There was no direction here from my end. It was entirely their creation. So problems, inquiry process. Problem solving or inquiry is divergent thinking at its best. As there are no right answers or formulas to follow, the teacher does not present pseudo choices or contrived problems for the children. The child or children decide on a problem or inquiry that is relevant to them. Problems or inquiries come from a child's own interest or experiences. The problems or inquiries are real. Inquiry-based learning is similar to problem-based learning in that inquiry is also something that is meaningful, relevant, and personally interesting to the child or children. It's an investigation and often involves the process skills of identifying a problem or investigation, forming hypotheses, gathering data, analyzing the data to form a conclusion. Inquiry is self-directed, as the line of questioning belongs to the child, and he or she has the opportunity for creativity and divergent thinking.
So, giving you another example of a problem, one of the schools I was working with, they had their cafeteria, and then Fridays was pizza day. Well, the cafeteria people decided they're not going to give pizza on Fridays any longer. Well, when the children heard about this, it was a disaster. And the children decided, I bet we could solve this problem. Let's take a survey of the school, which they did. They created a survey, went around to everyone in the school, and of course, the results were very positive for having pizza on Fridays. Then they made an appointment with the cafeteria people and took their survey there, and very professionally put their case forward. The cafeteria people said, well, we'll think about it and we'll get back with you tomorrow, which they did, and they decided to restore Pizza Day on Fridays to the children's delight. But it was a real problem for those children, and they created a way to solve it. It wasn't something that was contrived. The same can happen in other areas. Like maybe they're watching the birds outside, and they decide to build a bird feeder and see which birds are coming in and classifying them, or they're deciding, I wonder what kind of seeds they like best. And so now they are using their hypotheses and their problem-solving abilities again with something they are interested in. Or some children who decided that they needed water to this part of the play area and they couldn't get it there. And so they investigated aqueducts and decided to build an aqueduct to get the water to the place where they were building their project. They're all starting with, I wonder how this works. I wonder if we can solve this. Wonder how we can go about this. One of the important things in what Brian and I are talking about is giving children the opportunities to play and taking those characteristics of play into projects and problems. We are saying in this new culture of school and changing it not to use rubrics to guide or grade or rank the projects, but we can take the things that the children are doing that are authentic, and we can put pictures or descriptions of those within the child's portfolio. Love this quote from Albert Einstein: not everything that counts can be counted, those important things, and not everything that can be counted counts, such as standardized tests. So we're looking at assessing the things and documenting the things that we value for our children: curiosity, imagination, inventiveness, independence, well-being, interest and passion, love of learning, perseverance, collaboration, creativity, compassion, sense of purpose. These are the important things. And a quote from Piaget that you may be familiar with: children should be able to do their own experimenting, their own research. We as teachers can provide appropriate materials, we can help children with the essential things, but in order for a child to really understand, they must be able to build it themselves, construct it, reinvent it. If we teach them, we keep them from doing the reinventing. On the other hand, that which we allow children to discover by themselves will remain with them visibly for the rest of their lives. Powerful learning. Quote from Wasserman: play allows children to make discoveries that go far beyond the realm of what we as adults think is important to know. And quote from Camus: children who are confident about their own ability to think and are autonomous and inventive are more likely to develop intellectually in the long run than those who lack confidence, are passive, and are concerned mainly about pleasing the teacher. So we're looking at curiosity, imagination, and creativity, and focusing on the process and looking at children's curiosity to unfold, and having, just as play carried into projects and problems, imagination, creativity, and divergent thinking. We're looking for, in our play and our projects and the problem, the child's original and unique invention or creation.
So here's another quote from Wasserman that we like: the freedom to create and invent appears to be closely connected with the development of creative, inventive, innovative adults. Our standardized curriculum has created a decline in creativity in our schools, Today's school environment is one of control, not learning. We can change this. Here's another quote from Daniel Pink that we like. If we want our children to live satisfying lives, we must change the course of schooling. So we can change the culture of schooling where we see children as thinkers, creators, and constructors who work cooperatively with others and are joyful and excited about being in an environment where they are respected, trusted, encouraged, and autonomous. We can prepare children to live happy, well-adjusted lives in a complex and changing world. So how do we create an education system in this country that nurtures and develops and builds on the magnificent capacities children bring with them when they come to school? And that's a question that was posed by Nancy Carlson Page. So we are looking at nurturing the magnificent capacities of each child. We hope you have gained a unique perspective on play's role in learning with a new, different school culture that values play and its contribution to protecting the role of choice and autonomy for the child in the learning context, giving them the freedom to play, invent, and create. We hope you gained a greater understanding of the value of play in children's development of interest, curiosity, creativity, imagination, and ownership for children's engagement and learning, mainly in the sciences and social studies, as they engage in projects and solving problems. And this happens within the context and framework of play attributes. So not providing play opportunities for children in school contexts runs the risk of creating dot-to-dot children who master paint by number skills instead of painting a masterpiece of their own imagination and creation. We advocate for changing our school culture to include play in order to create happy, rich learning places for our children who will love and enjoy learning. So we do have a packet that we hope you take a look at, and we thank you for watching our video.
Thank you.